wayward mind, lovesick blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Twisted muse always gets my shit confused. What's a man have to prove? Do I have to walk the night for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. Drunk and young, I asked to walk you home, but an aloof response had me on my own without you. I stumble on, all alone, with DMVs. Where are you gone? On repeat in my dome, so blue. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. You pick me up, don't you know you got a hold on me? It brings me down in only ways that you can see. You keep me close, then you go ahead and walk from me, and hit me up when you're lonesome and need company. Wayward mind, lovesick blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. You've got me beat, you got me broken, right down to my soul. Wayward mind, lovesick blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Twisted muse always.
One, Bedard walks in. What a play by Casey. Now he fires up. There's Magwood. One-on-one. Magwood and Cravatin. Magwood dances around. Magwood in. He scored! He scored! He scored! the words of Chris Cuthbert, did you see that?
Wow.
What a call. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have not been down to the Irish game, that is some of the action that you will see. Greetings, salutations, everyone. Armchair Chirpers, episode 59 on a special night on a Wednesday at 6:30, live with YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us. We've got some very special guests calling in tonight, and we'll get to that in a moment. Before that, we just want to give a great shout out to our great friends at Reboot Repair, a great sponsor of the Armchair Chirpers, Stratford's best computer support and services, personalized IT solutions, hardware, software repairs, on-site and business services. They look forward to seeing you very soon. I can't hear myself, Les.
Peeking out. All right. Good to go.
So who do we have on the phone, Razor?
Well, we're pleased to announce that we have the Irish Star Center from Cambridge, Ontario, 26-year-old Zach Magwood. Mags, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. And Halser, you want to introduce your sidekick, who's also on the show?
Well, he's the star of the show, really, the man you just heard calling that goal. And his name is Trey Hamilton, and he is the voice of the Stratford Fighting Irish. And he's a really up-and-coming star in this broadcast world, I can tell you that. Welcome, Trey. Thanks for coming on the air with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for having me on tonight, guys.
Guys, thanks again for taking time out of your lives to come on our Armchair Chirpers podcast. I don't know how much you guys have heard of our podcast, but every week we're talking about the Irish, and it just seems that we're always talking about Zach Magwood. Mags, like, you have electrified the city with your play. And for those of you that have been living under a rock that haven't heard us talk about Mags, my God, get down to the Almond Arena. They ended up beating not Petrolia, Strathroy Jets. I was going to say Petrolia Jets there. And what a game that was. That was something electric. Stratford came away with a 6-2 win in game one. But Mags, like, you know, doing some research on you, this isn't your first trip playing down at the Almond Arena, is it?
No, I had actually the opportunity to play for the Cambridge Winterhawks back in the day. So, no, many good battles at the Almond. It's just a little strange being on the other side now.
Yeah, absolutely, because I was looking when you played there with the Winterhawks against the Stratford Warriors, or it might have been the Cullitons still back then.
Yeah.
But saw Tyson Baker was lining up against you, who's now an NHL linesman. So, you know, he was one of the big guns for them. But after the Winterhawks, you go on to the Colts. You play for them for 3 years, scoring 59 points in 65 games during your last season. And you also played with a couple of guys that are your current teammates here with the Irish. Who were you playing with there?
Yeah, last year there and played for 3 years with Justin Murray. And then actually got a lot of reps, and we were line mates with Jaden Pekka there. So a lot of history, a lot of chemistry, and actually they were kind of the guys that got me here. So,
okay,
you know, without them, you know, we might not be doing this podcast right now.
Well, like I said, we appreciate you coming on because, man, it's just a treat to watch you guys, how you've stolen the thunder, you know, from where we were back in November when things were very undecided, and now here we are in the league championship series with Strathroy, and it's just been a real treat to watch. But take us back to how Murr and Pekka got you here. Like, when did you first hear about the Western Ontario Super Hockey League?
I've actually kind of known about it for a while, to be quite honest with you. I didn't know too many guys that played in the league. Here and there, you meet some guys that have or do currently, but yeah, they just said, if you still have that itch, still want to play, I think it could be fun. And then also just kind of hanging out with the guys that, they said the group was really tight, really close, and they were 100% accurate. I feel like aside from the hockey, the most fun thing is just hanging out in the room with the guys. So, it's been a real treat for sure. I'm glad I made that decision to come.
Well, absolutely.
So are we.
We're spoiled here.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Dory, not so much.
Yeah. Well, looking at your resume, after you were done playing in Barrie, you go and play for the Milwaukee Admirals of the HL. You played with Belleville Senators of the A. Then you make your way across the pond, and you're playing in Innsbruck, Austria in 21-22. Then you go to Krefeld, Germany, end up in Stockholm, Sweden with Djurgårdens, and then back over to Innsbruck again to finish off the season. And then that's where former coach and GM Pi Petrie worked out a deal with Innsbruck for future considerations to bring you to the Wausau League,
later.
right?
Yeah.
But
Pretty
yeah, like I went down to Alvinston with Pi when he was still coaching back in like October, November, and they ended up losing a tight one. And I remember on the ride home that I said to Pi, I just said, it was nice having Nash and a few other good pickups, but I said, Pi, you're missing something. Like, we don't have enough horses to compete. And at the time, we were both talking about Alvinston because, like, let's face it, they were just loaded top end like a Ferrari with Feezy and McEwen and Lamoureux. And so we both agreed that he needed to go and sharpen his pencil and go and find some more help to help the Irish. And he ends up bringing you and Hall and now Thiessen and, like, just what's the atmosphere like in the dressing room that you guys have exceeded all expectations from where we were before Christmas to where we are now?
Yeah, I think it's just timing. I think, like you said earlier in the beginning of the year, we weren't in the spot we were in now. But having said that, I think the group has just came to be a lot closer. Everybody's kind of figuring out the way everyone plays. We still juggle lines, but for the most part, it's pretty consistent. And yeah, I think just with our chemistry on and off the ice, it's just fun hockey. It's fun atmosphere, fun to be around everybody. Everybody's so nice and welcoming on game days too. It's not, you don't feel too much pressure. Even though we all want to win, it's still just a good atmosphere, a good environment to be around. You can hang out and joke. But then game time, you're all business.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, were you surprised that Strathroy ended up knocking off Alvinston, or what were you guys talking about? Did you care who you met in the finals? Because you guys took over Tilbury pretty easily, and so was there any desire to play one team over the other?
I wouldn't say too much of a desire for one or the other. I think we knew that series was going to be tight regardless of who came out on top. And obviously, like I said earlier too, just with the hockey that we're playing and just how much fun we're having, I don't think we really had too much concern. But obviously still have a healthy respect for both teams.
Right.
So, Mags, I wanted to ask you about your other line mate. We know you have the chemistry with Pekka because you played with him before, but you got Graham Brulot on your right-hand side, who has been a long-time player of the Irish, one of the original players before he went off to Germany for a little bit. How's it been playing with Graham? Because I see Brew playing some of the best hockey I've ever seen him play. So tell us about him.
Yeah, no, he's a great hockey player, even better guy. So yeah. I think that just kind of sums them up all around. Playing together, it's pretty seamless. It feels like we've been playing together more or longer than we already have been, which is kind of crazy to say. But that just kind of goes to show how well he knows the game and just how skilled he is on the ice and his hockey IQ. But then even, sitting close to him in the room, just chatting, a lot of laughs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think he's not a hard guy to get along with. and he's easier to play with on the ice too.
Megs, I must say, and being at the games and watching you guys play, boy, it really does look like you guys are having a lot of fun. And I know that your compete is high. I know your expectations of each other are, high as well, and you guys want to be successful. But it still looks like you guys are like just really dialed in and exploring your talent, and like you playing with Brulot and Pekka, like referring to Holly's comment, like we've been watching him for quite a few years now with the Irish, and a guy like yourself who can come in and just elevate the players around him. It's such a compliment to you and the players and the team. And even going back to Razor's comment with Pi, like we needed someone just with a little bit more oomph that they could give the team, and we truly believe that's you. And we've always thought you were a big deal coming to Stratford, so we're really happy to have you here as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think the time's been great so far. But yeah, it's not an individual sport, so having those four guys on the ice with me, plus a goalie, rotating lines, I think that's also a testament to just the team that we have as well. They make my job easy, and hopefully I do the same for them.
So, Mags, when you started out and you came into the Go as a 15-year-old, you played 3 games for the Winterhawks, and then as a 16-year-old played a full season. What was that like coming into the Go, as the Go is one of the premier junior leagues in the area?
Yeah, no, it was quite some time ago, but all I remember from that is just having a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I didn't really think it was possible to learn, as much as I did, but no, I'm just super grateful for the time that I spent in the GOJ and with the Winterhawks. Obviously it's a different organization now, different staff, and everybody that was there when I was there has moved on, but super grateful to them. And yeah, as far as the hockey goes, it was definitely a whirlwind to start. I recall not having one of my best years of junior hockey, but chalk it up to whatever you want, being 16, fresh face kind of thing. But no, it was great. I enjoyed it. And now helping out with the Air Centennials, you see how far the league has come, and boy, there's some skilled kids in that league now.
And considering you got to play out of one of the oldest arenas in the country at the Shade Street, the Galt Gardens down there, and then come to the Almonds, so you play in 2 of the oldest arenas around.
Oh yeah, no, I just any time in Stratford, obviously at the Almond, and then growing up playing at Galt, it's pretty cool just to know all the history between the 2 rinks, and the good battles between Cambridge and Stratford over the years, and in all the leagues kind of growing up. So no, it's pretty cool to go from rink to rink like that.
So Trey, we haven't had a chance to talk to you yet. Why don't you give us a little background on like your path here? How does a guy from your neck of the woods end up in Stratford calling hockey games?
Yeah, good question, Brian. I'm happy to let everybody know. Some people just figured, I was just some crazy fan that started having a passion about calling hockey games.
That has been brought up.
Not entirely true.
I'm
still a crazy fan, but it all kind of got started with my old man. I got to give him the credit. Back when I was, 7, 8 years old, he bought me a little AM radio alarm clock, a little Sony one, and late nights, it had a headphone jack in it, so I was able to sneak it around. Mom wouldn't know, and plugged the headphones in. I used to listen to the Buffalo radio station and get to hear Rick Jenneret, and then obviously Aaron Joe Bowen in Toronto. I've always been a huge hockey fan, obviously, but those 2 guys were big inspirations for me, and kind of got me into where kids like Mags were hoping to go all the way to the show, right? I was hoping to have a future in broadcasting, because unfortunately my goaltending is subpar. So
I hear you're an elite level beer league player.
I know the feeling, Trey.
The elite prospects isn't showing anything, so at least I don't have to be too embarrassed. But anyway, yeah, I just got passionate about calling games, and when I got into high school, I got this really fortunate opportunity. I was top of my class in high school with our tech class, and we got an opportunity to go do a tour of the TSN radio station in Hamilton, the former 1150. When we were there, I got to meet Jim Taddy face to face.
Oh, yeah.
He really liked my energy.
Great mustache.
That's right, guy. Taddy loved the energy. He loved what I brought to the table as a 17-year-old. So he offered me a job. He said, "Do you want to work as a kind of high school sports reporter for 1150 and do a couple segments a week?" So that's what got it all started right there. I had the passion, I had the voice, I had the opportunity. So Taddy opened the door. I got in, and then went off to radio broadcasting at Mohawk College, graduated from there, and then got hired right away with Cable 14 in Hamilton. So I covered Caledonia Corvairs. I used to do Ancaster Avalanche games, Kelty Bees, did some football stuff as well with the Hamilton Hurricanes. Never got into doing the Bulldogs at that time, but Reed Duffy's got that one covered. So, but yeah, that was kind of where it got started. And then my involvement with the WASHL itself, after college and this, the world kind of went down the toilet in 2020. I moved home from Hamilton to move back in with the family out here. And there's a local team that was playing, the Tillsonburg Thunder. I got an opportunity to go out and watch a few of their games, and
Boo.
I got to see Jamie McLean. And yeah, Boo is right.
Hey, there
We'll
were
get to that
fans with
part.
the jerseys on Saturday. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that, but
That's right.
Sorry,
But I
Trey.
got to see the talent. No, you guys are good. I got to see the talent was my whole story of it. Seeing Jamie McLean and some of these names out here. Ironically, the first game I ever watched in the WASHL was Tillsonburg and Strathroy. And Brandon Buck and Patty McNeil were out there for Stratford, right? And I'm like, I had the expectation it was, your daddy's senior hockey, just a bunch of old, big fat guys rumbling around and hitting each other and trying to get in fights. And it wasn't like that. And I was blown away. So I got involved a little bit tighter with Tillsonburg, and they offered me a job last year to take over the play-by-play duties, just given my resume, my past history. And over the course of the summer and the off season this past year, things kind of didn't work out with Tillsonburg, and that's it is what it is. But it opened up a window for me, and I got hired in Orangeville to do their play-by-play. And then obviously Pi was trying to get me to come down and get a little more involved with the Irish when he was still there. But one of the things that he talked to new ownership about when they took over was make sure you get that kid in the booth. And so I took over late season, and I haven't looked back. It's been an incredible journey. So.
And Trey, we're so glad you did. You and Holly do an excellent job. I've watched multiple, telecasts from home, either on the road or if I can't make the game down at the Almond. And I just really find, with amateur sports, when I say that, I mean, we're talking about a super hockey league. Your timing on your calls are very well calculated, and I'm not here to critique or judge you. I guess why I'm saying that is because it's such a pleasure to watch. And I must admit, Holly, on that call you made with Magwood,
He was speechless.
I've known the guy quite a while, and I've never held him an account for being speechless, and here we are. And what a great call that was! And you've had so many over your time with the league. With the Irish so far, but that Magwood goal, I don't think anybody could prepare for something like that. It was pretty unbelievable and pretty magnificent that play that Mags made that night.
Oh, and I mean, he made two other beauties as well. So Mags certified beauty. I mean that goal, like you said, how do you prepare, right? Like I've always been of the mindset when it comes to broadcasting that, especially with hockey, it's such a fast and free-flowing sport that you have to have a different voice for every sport, right? Baseball's a little slower, and then you build it up as you go. And hockey's weird because you got to be on the edge of your seat. And when you get to the playoffs, you got to be ready to make a big call. And I like that I was able to mentally set it up, the whole one-on-one, Magwood and Cravatin, right? And it sets it up. You got it's like an old boxing match. You got literally one-on-one, and because he undressed him so bad that I don't even think Paul Order was in that play. But anyway. What a goal, what a game he had. I mean, we're talking about the one goal, but the other two that he scored, Brian can attest to that. It was just an amazing game for
Might have
Mags.
been as good.
The shorty was a nice one, yeah.
Mags, do us a favor, Mags. How about you walk us through that shorty? Because I got to be honest with you, like the puck bounced over your stick. You know what goal we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the puck bounces over your stick, and you go, I think you were somewhere around the hash marks picking it up. And I'm wondering even now what was going through your head, like you were going to go back to your own zone and rag it? So walk us through when you take over the puck in the zone, what you were thinking then.
Yeah, no, like you said, it just bounced over my stick real quick. I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest. My mindset was, ooh, I got a breakaway right
you
now.
were gone, right? You were home.
Yeah.
I definitely it was a first for that one. But yeah, no, I just kind of turned back and, like fully expecting just to bring it back to my own end, kill some time. But I don't know what it was. I just kind of last second just kind of turned my head real quick just to scan and, just saw an opening and I was like, all right, well, might as well.
And what I thought was impressive too, Mags, was that, like, the last two goalies that you faced, Polidori with Petrolia or Tilbury, and then now you've got Evan DeBrouwer, who's arguably the best goalie in the league.
And I don't think anybody's arguing.
No. And so we're not talking about road hockey goalies. Like, what you're doing is just such a treat. Like, you make it look so effortlessly, but folks, we've said it time and time again. You are missing something. As Holly says, this ain't your daddy's senior hockey or your pappy's senior hockey league. You've got to come down and watch these guys because it is just electric out there. And there was a good crowd last Saturday night. Hoping for another good crowd this coming Saturday night for Game 3. And, for folks that have been living under a rock, Strathroy's got Robbie Schremp, who played with the Oilers and Islanders. Jamie McQueen, he's played in Germany for 9 years, also in the AHL. And then you've got former Culleton Brandon Buck, who you guys have already mentioned before, who played in the AHL with Norfolk, Houston, and then he was also in Europe. And, like, these guys playing in the finals are legit. Like, even Joe Hishin, who doesn't come to many games, we were talking, and some guys are going, oh, Robbie Schremp, he's not really doing much out there. And Hish and I are looking at each other going, what are you watching? Like, he was batting pucks out of the air.
Little details.
All these little details. And, like, watching everybody with the quick twisted wristers and warm-ups, like, it's so impressive, guys.
And Megs, maybe you can give a little insight for the people who were trying to drag down to the Almond here and trying to convince. And I don't think it's much effort needed, but you're playing out there against these players. And, I mean, it looks, and maybe you can just let us in a little bit. I mean, the competition is very high in this league. It's very fast. You guys, may I just say, it looks like and it feels like a very high talented league. What would be your observation with your experience so far?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I was pleasantly surprised, even from my first game up until now, with a lot of the talent that's been in this league. I mean, you go down the names, and, there's so many guys with pretty good resumes. But yeah, no, like even Shrempy too. I had the opportunity to work with him a little bit over the course of my pro career. I was down in Florida for a bit, and he came out and helped our team a little bit. So, a little connection there. But even with the short time that he and I were there, I still, I felt like every day he was teaching me something new, or even if he was teaching another guy and I just happened to look over, just the creativity, the mind, the hockey IQ, he's definitely one of those guys where, you got to keep note of when he's on the ice.
Absolutely.
And Trey, you've been around this league a few years now. When we're talking about where the league's talent is now, when you think back about the way it was in year one, what can you tell us about the arc that the talent level has gone through over 4 seasons of the Ontario Super Hockey League?
Yeah, Brian, it's been incredible, really, to watch. Like I said, my first experience with the WHL was year 2, and I heard from people at that time the talent that was added to the league in year 2 alone was incredible. And then here we are, year 4, and it just keeps going, right? I mean, you go back to year 1, and Elvinston was the team that used to get beat up on by everybody. They were pretty bad. And I mean, look how quickly that town turned everything around and pumped a bunch of sponsorships, a bunch of money into that team, and attracted names like Jimmy McEwen, and he brings out Brandon Feasy, and I mean, the connections with, obviously, I mean, you got the two Lincoln's kids up there, and Lammer and Chandler, right? And
Yep.
it's incredible to see. The talent level has exploded, and one of the best things about this league, I've peeked around at other senior leagues like the OE, and obviously it's Tavistock, and you look over at the EOSHL over in the eastern part of the province, and the biggest thing I notice is the defense and the goaltending over here seems to be far superior. And I mean, the top level talent's here. I mean, we got it. We're talking to one of the best players in this league right now. But it's really impressed me to see the guys like, I mean, the Irish, I get lucky because, Brian, the Irish have the best defense in the league. I mean, you look at the names on that back end. I mean, you got Murr, who Meg's already talked about. You got, obviously, Henderson. You got Cole Thiessen. I mean, you got Calvin Thompson, big man rumbling around out there. And, some of these names are just incredible. But overall, the talent has just skyrocketed in the last 3 years, and it's starting to show. I mean, you got, teams selling out barns, and towns like I mentioned, Alvinston. They got 800 people in that town, and they're selling 1,200 tickets a game, right? It's incredible to see, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this league, because, I mean, it's getting to the point where, we're seeing guys that are so talented in this league. What's next, right?
That's a great question. What's next? Where does it go from here? I mean, we saw 1,200 in the barn Monday night for Game 6 between Strathroy and Alvinston. And we all know that the Alvinston fans travel well, right?
Oh,
They show
yeah.
up in busloads. There were 1,300 here last year for Game 6. How many were in Tillsonburg for Game 7 last year, Trey?
Yeah, so I'm going to say the actual number because I don't care anymore, but
Yeah,
the
because
town of Tillsonburg said they weren't allowed to have more than 800 people in the building, and I confirmed ticket sales at 1,575.
Almost
Everybody-
double.
Sounds like St. Mary's.
Everybody was there.
Exactly. There's no place to get out because everybody's sitting on the stairs.
They all stopped picking tobacco and went to the Tillsonburg game that night.
What a great story.
That night too.
Trey, you mentioned Calvin Thompson there in your thing. He was a beast when he played here for the Culletons. He's a guy on the ice I don't think a lot of players want to mess with. He missed a hit there on Saturday, and I talked to him after the game. And he said, I let up a bit, because if he would have hit the guy, he probably would have killed him.
Which one?
Down in the corner, right in front of where we stand down by the bar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin is a great guy. I mean, I love chatting with Calvin off the ice. I love having conversations with him, texting him, and getting updates throughout the week how he's doing. And one of the things that I really missed, and I think the team missed it, I'm sure Megs could attest to that, was that second round that he was injured. Right, he went down in that first round series against Petrolia and hurt his shoulder. And the guy's a warrior. I mean, I was down in the room after the game that he hurt himself, and he's talking about cortisone and coming out and getting ready for game one of the next round. And what I told him, and he can attest to that as well, is the physical presence that he brings on the back end, not even just the hitting, but just that stare you down with that evil mustache and give you that look. And it's something that, some of the teams that Strathroy has beat, I'm not going to slag on them, but you look at Elora, you look at Alvinston, they don't have that. They don't have a big physical presence on the blue line. And then you could throw him out there with Halsey, and I mean, he's getting through that pair, right? So, but Calvin's a beauty, 100%.
Yeah, even when they move him up forward there like they did last year against Alvinston, he's such an impactful player physically, and he can really scare the bejesus out of you, I tell you.
Yeah, because when he was here in Stratford, he comes out as a defenseman, one of the few kids on the team with a mustache, playing junior B hockey.
Crazy. Oh, man. Oh.
So Mags, you were in Europe for a few years. Give us something. Okay, like what did you like? Where did you like playing? Where was your favorite? Tell us a little bit about your European vacation
Ooh.
Experience.
There's so many things I could say about all three places that I played in. It felt like it went by quick, but at the same time, lifelong friends, lifelong memories. I don't really think I have a favorite spot, to be honest, because they were all pretty unique in their own capacities. But yeah, each city that I played in was super welcoming, super hospitable, beautiful places, beautiful cities. obviously some were a little bit bigger than the others, some a little bit more known, like Stockholm, which was just crazy in a good way. But yeah, no, I think the people, the food, obviously the hockey's really good. I think those are probably my biggest takeaways from that. There's not too many negatives on that list as far as those cities go, and they treated us fantastic.
Megs, we're having Stratford native Brad McClure on at the end of May. He's currently over playing in Europe, and he's played over there for the past couple of years. And he usually says the exact same stuff. And I ask him kind of what Holly asked you, like, how would you explain it? And he says, politely energetic. So they go wild, they have fun, they chant, they sing, everything else. But there's never a problem in the crowd with any type of, abrasiveness or anything like that. Would you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, 100%. That's probably the most accurate way to put that. They definitely know how to have fun over there, to say the least. The two countries that I played in Austria and Germany definitely know how to drink beer, which you would think that a mixture of that wouldn't be too good, but somehow they manage to bring a lot of passion, bring a lot of energy, but there's never really too much drama in the rink. I'm not too sure what goes on outside the rink after the games, but no, everything inside the building was pretty awesome. Definitely a bit of a culture shock when you go there, coming from North America to that level of noise and cheering and chanting and the odd beer cup thrown on the ice at you maybe, but it's all in good fun.
There's no garbage cans on the ice like Petrolia, then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It did come up. I was wondering if someone was going to say
it. You keep giving me peaches. And I keep
that's all.
We're pretty
Razor
good at
said we were throwing the lob balls, right?
Right.
We're pretty good at drinking the beer too. Like last year in the playoffs when it was $3 beers.
Yeah.
You know what's unbelievable is Mags, and I'm sure you saw it when you were in Germany. When I was 21, myself and two buddies, we got done college and we toured around Europe for a summer. Best time of my life. And we ended up in Munich at the Hofbrauhaus. And it was just unbelievable how these women, like the waitresses, would have, you're probably too young to remember, but did you ever go to Mother's Pizza Parlor? Or it was probably under, there used to be a famous pizza chain here in Ontario called Mother's Pizza Parlor, and they had these father-size steins of beer draft that they would serve. And at the Hofbrauhaus, people have their own stein. So they have like a case, and when the locals show up, they have their name on it, and the women would bring out like 8 or 10 father-sized steins. They'd be stacked on each other, and then they would just like throw the steins on the table, and the beer slosh, and then you got the Oktoberfest music going. Like it is a different world over there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. No, even just finishing up in Austria with my last year, my dad came out actually, and we went to the Hofbrauhaus. Yeah, it was. It's pretty incredible to see one woman carry that much weight in beer, and not only the beer, the glass. Like, it's an out to finish one of those things for sure.
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah,
life experience, right? Like just incredible times. And,
It really is. I can just imagine. I just had a small taste of it. I think we were there for 2 or 3 days, and then we hopped on the train and went to our next city, probably to Paris or somewhere. I forget. It's all a blur, but
yeah.
It's all a blur.
As it should
I
be.
wonder why.
You got
Watch this.
three 21-year-olds with a Eurail pass. All we knew is that we were landing in London, and we were leaving out of Amsterdam. So I'll let you guys fill in the blanks there.
Somebody will fill in the blanks anyway. Hopefully not Interpol.
Right.
I don't know did I hear this correctly, Mags, that you were helping out the Air Centennials?
Yeah. So I'm their skills and development coach this year, and then other Stratford player Connor Hall's the assistant coach on the defense end.
Yeah, because they had a fabulous year. They came out of the gates flying this year. And then ran into Brantford, surprising first round. But Brantford seemed to have your number all year for some reason. How was that on the kids
Yeah, I mean, it was on everybody. It was a shock. It didn't feel real almost a little bit, in a sense. But yeah, no, we just, for whatever reason, they were kind of one of the only teams we just couldn't figure out. And for whatever rhyme or reason that was, it's unfortunate. And it sucks to see, a lot of good kids, have their junior careers come to an end, or, the guys that move on as well to other teams next season. But yeah, even just for the returning guys too, like, you feel for them.
So with that being said, I think Les might have brought that up because he called the upset.
I picked it.
But
we did a little
No, we were close.
round table, and we picked winners from every series, and Les was the only one to pick Brantford.
It's just because of the way Brantford played against Ayr all year.
yeah,
They
100%.
just had their number all year. And then when you guys lost Jovanovski up to Guelph, that was a big blow to your team as well.
Oh yeah, no, Jovo was he was awesome in that for us, but at the same time, you're so happy for him that he gets an opportunity in the OHL. So, it's bittersweet, but still, just at the end of the day, just happy for him. He's a pretty awesome kid too.
So I just want to switch gears a little bit. We've still got you on here, guys. Trey, let's look at the series, the championship series that we're in. It's 1-0 Stratford. Game 2 Friday night in Strathroy. Game 3 Saturday night in Stratford. How do you see the series playing out over the next couple of games?
Well, it's a tough look, right? Because we talked about the talent that Strathroy has up front. We talked about how they have the best goaltender in the league, right? So you got to give them an edge in certain areas, but overall, I think the depth of the Irish and how good the back end is. This series, I feel like, really does come down to this Friday, Saturday. I mean, that's cliche because it's the first 3 games will be done, but I think for Strathroy, if they don't win one of these next 2, I think they're in serious trouble. I think I could easily see this being similar to that Tilbury series where, maybe they do steal a game at home in Game 4, but overall, I think, just like I said, the depth of the Irish, and we saw it on Game 1. Mags was, a little bit more on the defensive side of things, and Matty Montgomery was the one who scored and Brew with the hat trick, right? Like, it was actually my wife who told me that. She said one of the things I really enjoy about watching the Irish is that, if, say, Mags has a bad night, then Pekka steps it up. You say Pekka has a bad night, Brew steps it up. Say Brew has a bad night, Palillo steps it up. Say Palillo has a bad night, Robbie steps it up. You go down the list of names, it's incredible. So this team overall, I think they're the better team. And I hope the Jets are listening, and I hope it pisses them off, because I do want to see this thing go 6 or 7 just for entertainment's sake. But if you ask my honest opinion, I think if Strathroy doesn't get one of these next 2 this weekend, this series will be over really quickly. So,
well said, Trey, and your input's always very appreciated because you're there at rinkside and seeing the games, and you've gotten obviously to know the team very well, and very valued is your opinion. So something that I'd like to say is, we're talking about Saturday night, and you're talking about all the talent that the Stratford Irish have, and I couldn't agree more. And Magwood had more of a defensive night, and
Still had 3 apples.
Yeah, three A's.
Yeah, no, I know.
that was a joke.
I'm not
I was
done.
joking around with them.
I'm not done.
But that's quiet.
But
for
with
Mags,
that being
right?
said,
Yeah.
a three
That's all I'm
three
saying.
apple night
3 apples
is a
for
quiet.
Mags.
And if you don't believe me, like Razor says, come down to the Almond if you're living under a rock.
Exactly.
But I think that being an Irish fan, and part of this podcast, I may be a little biased, but I really feel we're in good hands with this hockey club in Stratford against Strathroy, and with you saying that as well, Trey, with Strathroy's got to either figure it out or it's going to be over, and that's not being ridiculous, that's just being factual. But with that being said, I know Strathroy's going to come back strong. They're a very underrated number 7 seed. You have to appreciate their talent. So
Well, it's like I was talking to Mags there before game one, and we both agreed it's not luck that Strathroy knocked off number 2 Elora and number 1 Alvinston. Like, these guys are the real deal. Now, they didn't have their best game Saturday night, but they've never played a team in the playoffs like the Irish either, and so.
And in fairness, they were missing McQueen.
Right. Yeah.
Who's
Who's
that fifth guy on the power play that makes it so deadly? He's a finisher.
Absolutely.
And so that the series doesn't start until we see Strathroy with a full lineup, I think.
Yeah, fair. And I think DeBrouwer would like to have maybe 1 or 2 back. That wasn't his best game, but this guy is the real deal. And I thought Weir played a great game. Like, there was a post in there that could have changed things, but lucky to be good and good to be lucky. And Weirsy's just got to make the saves that he's supposed to.
He was solid.
He was.
He really
Always
was.
has been.
And so, guys, we just want to thank both of you for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure to talk hockey with both of you. And we look forward to seeing not only you guys, but all the great fans here in Stratford that have fallen in love with the Irish on Saturday at, is it 7 or 7:30? 7:30 puck drop.
7:30.
But the bar opens early, so,
The bar is open with former coach Dave Cassoni running the left side bar.
promoted.
One
moved
for him,
upstairs to
one
the
for
office.
everybody else.
See, in Canada, that's a promotion.
He's
from head
flipping
coach.
awesome.
He is.
Dave, I love you.
Friend of the show,
You're
Dave.
such a
Absolutely.
and can't say enough great things about
And Mo.
him and Mo
And Mo.
Yeah, Mo.
and Amy.
So we could go down the list. Trey, Mags, do you guys got 10 minutes? We just want to thank all the all the Irish volunteers. So, but guys, Zach Magwood, Trey Hamilton, guys, thank you so much for coming on to the Armchair Chirpers podcast. We appreciate you both and look forward to watching you,
Well,
Mags.
We're gonna have
And-
to have him on regardless after the season.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys on if you can find a few moments to come on. Maybe even live if you can wing it. If not, we can do it by phone again. But
Well, our corporate helicopter's in the garage, so you might have
It's
to
getting
drive.
repaired.
We don't pay mileage, but if you could find it within your goodness of your heart.
We do have
Exactly.
beer, though.
we do have beer.
Yeah,
So
Just rent a taxi and put it on Brian Hawley's tab.
absolutely.
He's that kind of guy.
All right, guys. Thanks again for your time, and go Irish.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. It was a great time on the show, and looking forward to joining you guys again for sure.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Thanks,
great
guys.
night.
Yeah, and
Yeah, take care, guys.
wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, guys.
It's so great we were able to do that with the Gloria technology. So with that being said, we're going to go to break. After we get back, we'll get into sponsors.
Hit the wrong button.
It's all good. We'll be back.
It's live.
Alrighty.
Why do I climb these heights for you? Twisted muse always gets my shit confused. What's a man have to prove? Do I have to walk the night for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road. Lost it blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road.
Never stops with the small town strip club.
Right?
Yeah, I know we always play the same song, and we're working on our production. But boy, they're doing well. They got Thirsty Thursday coming up at the Rotary Complex, opening up for Texas
Kings.
Texas Kings, yeah.
Yes.
I
And they've
wonder
got a
if,
few more gigs, I heard, too.
They got
in,
a few
in
more
Alberta
gigs.
and Calgary and
Yes, and
is it
that was
Red Deer.
that was part of the rollout, and they do have their vinyl album released. So if you check out their socials, it'll give you the instructions if you're interested on picking it up. We suggest you do.
I just have
So
one
we-
thing to say on that first segment. Great call in by those two guys.
Oh,
And there
my
wasn't
God.
too many squirrels.
No.
We did
Yeah.
pretty good keeping on track of that one.
You know what I didn't realize was that Trey's worked with Jim Taddy. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? The originator of Yes Guy. Like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
say
the-
that, and that's
Everybody stayed up to watch the plays of the week.
well.
Do you know who is Jim Taddy with?
Mark Hepshire.
Yeah,
Mark Hebsher, but
on
before
Global,
that,
on
before that,
Sportsline.
Bob McCowan.
Bob McCowan.
McCowan.
Right, yeah.
Bob McCowan.
Bobcat.
Yeah.
Jim Taddy and Mark Hepsher used to stay up to
Oh, my
11:30.
God.
Just
Had
to
the
watch
They
bad-
were.
plays
That
of
was
the week.
before TSN.
Hebshe had the
and
bad
Sports-
earring.
Oh, the Hebshe
Yeah,
Awards.
never-
The
yes.
Hebshe Awards.
Oh, so good.
Speaking
Like,
of squirrels.
live from Toronto, this is Sportsline.
As soon as the guests hang up, boom, squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Guys, thank you for coming on. That was awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to get into our very generous sponsors, SBS Metals. Just talking to Dennis today. They're keeping busy, doing very well, him and Kathy and the gang and the team, and we really appreciate their support. Metal fabrication with professional craftsmanship, Stratford's preferred custom commercial and residential metal fabricator. They invite you to their social media channels on Facebook and Instagram with examples of their work, and great work it is.
Domino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Armchair Chirpers. 2 locations at 406 Ontario and 536 Huron Street. Domino's Pizza.
Have you ever experienced a Perth County breakfast experience at Joe's Diner, the official breakfast, lunch, dinner diner of the Armchair Chirpers, home of the world famous, and what we're talking about, the Perth County breakfast? Number 4, locally owned and operated by the wonderful Myers family. They invite you to both their locations, one of which is in Stratford at 155 Erie Street, and the other is in St. Mary's on your way in across, just up from the golf course.
You know it's a small town when you just say, "Oh, it's on your way in, just past the."
It's on your way in.
And
Don't need
people
an
know what
address.
you're talking
Just
about.
don't need an address. Just
Right?
on your way in.
I'll get the address.
Absolutely.
You don't have to. They know where it is. It's just on the way in.
Yep. you'll
Brighter
smell the bacon.
Vision Technology. Brighter Vision Technology. Brighter Vision Counselling, Psychology, and Wellness, providing compassionate and effective counseling services to individuals and families in need. They provide a safe and supportive environment where everyone can heal and grow.
Janet Lange from Home and Company, broker of real estate. She has coined the phrase "putting the real in real estate." The official broker of the Armchair Chirpers with over 20 years experience. She would look for an opportunity to have a conversation with you.
Bentley's Bar, Inn, and Restaurant, the official bar and restaurant of the Armchair Chirpers. 20 draft beers on tap, daily food specials, a fabulous place to spend the night in their lofts or executive suite. Locally owned and operated by the Bentley family.
Wonderful people. And last but not least, the Urban Barber at 155 Erie Street, established in 2019, a full-service barber shop with 3 barbers at your service. Appointment-based, we invite you to visit our new application called Squire. It'll give you the instructions to be able to book your appointment. We look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Oh, what a busy weekend.
Holy moly.
Oh,
Was it ever?
Yeah.
GOJHL
Lots of
in
games.
Yeah, I
4
was.
series.
I was
right off
4
the hop.
games in 4 nights between the 2 levels. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Didn't you think
Yeah,
you
I
were in
was-
Chatham last night or something? Just kidding.
I thought I was somewhere last night. But sure as hell wasn't
Yeah,
hockey.
we
I
had
was-
to. Go ahead. Sorry.
Wednesday in Chatham, Friday at home, Saturday at the Irish game, Sunday in Chatham, last night at home, oof,
Tonight here.
tonight here.
Yeah. Were you
Yeah.
were,
Chatham.
were you sleeping on the couch or?
Just the doorway on the way in.
Yeah, sure, Les. You've just been gone for half a week. Go and enjoy your time with your buddies on your podcast.
what he
while
said.
I,
He said-
while I deal with the 2 young rugrats. So
The midgets.
she's
It's
made a good
sacrifices
Kathy.
we
I
make.
told her when I was in there the one
That's
day. I
what
said,
she said.
Kathy, you're made of good stuff.
She
so
is. She is. She's the
Are they
best.
midgets? Are they fully grown?
I call them lovingly the midgets.
Okay. Okay.
I wondered if the one's got a mustache. So the boy looks like he's trying to.
Yeah.
So let's take us through game 1 and 2. Stratford. Game 1, they got a bad break at the end.
Game 1, that bad break at the end, I think that's what did them in for game 2 as well. I think there was bad luck all around. You know, you're down 5-1, and you come back to make it 5-4, and then a minute left, you score.
Yes.
What is a good goal? Everybody's seen it was a good goal.
I thought the net was off.
Yeah, we'll get into that with you, won't we?
Oh, is there going to be a
defense-
I talked to
discussion?
a guy in
The
Chatham.
defen-
He said it wasn't
Yeah,
even close.
the defenseman points at the post, and the referee waves it off. But Chatham fans walking by us are all saying that puck was in the net before the net came off. It was a tough break. So you log it away, you head home.
Great setup by Slattery
Yes.
to Kipfer.
Kipfer right now is playing on a different level than everybody else.
He looks
Yeah.
like he's ready to make the jump to the next level.
He does.
Next
He-
Which he
Yeah.
will be.
He will be.
He just needs to tone it down for when the scouts are around, because then they're going to want to take him from us. So he would be lovely to
You say that with Kipfer. I very, very much see that with Slattery.
Yeah, Slattery's
And,
But if you look at Kipfer's game from game 1 till now, it's just a complete.
yeah, both the
complete-
kids.
Yeah, 90.
Both the kids.
Carter Petrie, the same thing. You know, the kids, they're great. The second game, Friday night at home, they just bad luck.
Wasn't their
McDougall-
game.
Carter McDougall just had some bad luck. It was a tough one.
Yeah, well, it was the Truby show. The first 2 goals, like, my God, like, and if you haven't been coming to watch the Irish games, at least get off your duff and come down and watch equally good hockey with the junior Bs. Like, those kids are flying out there. And-
Razor, you could just say, why don't you come out and watch the game? You're like, if you're like under a rock for the last, if you haven't been.
well, like last night, you know what? It's
Are we going to get into
Well,
this? Or are we...
we
Holly,
won.
we got the reins on
That's
Holly.
that's
You don't know
game.
what happens.
That's game 4.
Maybe
Holly.
we
Just
should-
just wait.
Maybe
Just
we
wait.
should go
We're not
through
there yet.
a
We
Just
little bit.
wait. We're only at game 2. So
But Les, if I may say something about Friday night's game, and you know these kids are playing their hearts out, and they really are, and they're well coached and well managed, and all the good stuff that you want to hear about a junior B team in this day and age. You know, it's the little mistakes and the details that happen that really eat you up over the course of a game.
Yeah.
One of which that I noticed Friday was just a disconnect from the first pass out of their zone into the neutral zone. You know, a lot of different opportunities arose for Chatham, the way the Warriors were playing.
You give
It's
up
just
that
an
early goal,
observation,
right?
and I understand these kids are young, and all sorts of good stuff are going to be in their lives, but those are the points of difference that happened in that game. It was completely different, and we'll talk about it.
Completely different team Sunday. Completely.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, they were on fire. Nagy was just Hunter Nagy, right? Just steps up. But the play of that game, Chase Furlong started that game, which you had to. You had to give the team a spark. So you bring in Furlong, and he played well. He made some saves that he probably shouldn't have, but he made timely saves. But Caden Long with the winning goal on a shorty.
oh my God,
No
what
other,
a
a lot of
shot!
other people wouldn't do what he did. Like, I talked to him after the game, and he said he was just trying to clear the puck, get off the ice, but it hit that bottom of the dasher board and came out. And
Straight out.
Hunter couldn't get to it, and he noticed none of the Chatham players going after it, so he got on his horse, picks it up, walks in alone, and a nice backhand right up and over. puts it in and gives him 2-1 lead at the time, right?
No, it
Or
was
2-0.
it was on his forehand.
Or was it? It was on
Yeah,
his
he
forehand.
left hand shot. Where did he shoot it?
right.
Stick side on Hunter.
So he put that one in, and that was 2-0 at the time.
Yeah.
That was a huge.
that was a
huge.
backbreaker.
Yeah, that
And-
sort of took the team, and then things got a little chippy there on in. I'm going to say one thing. Some people might not agree with it, but Carter Petrie stood up for the rest of the team.
I
Carter
loved
Chadwick
it. Fighting
had been
Chadwick.
had been chirping the guys all series, and Carter Petrie, after the whistle, they're skating back, and Chadwick said something, he said something, and then he just dropped the gloves. Now, Carter didn't get any shots in probably, but the one thing out of it was Chadwick's 5th fighting major of the season. So that's an automatic game after that.
Well, did you see it in game 2? So
Yeah.
Chadwick scores to put Chatham up 3-1. He comes over to the Stratford bench
Yep.
and does the I can't hear you.
Yep.
And, not that you want a rookie in Petrie to have to take on that role, but kudos to him because Petrie not only fought Chadwick at center ice and did a great job, but he ends up scoring a huge goal last night.
But the intelligence of Carter Petrie knowing that it's a decent trade-off for his team.
Oh,
as much
yeah.
as he doesn't want to leave the game, it's a trade-off that he's willing to take.
Yeah.
right? Especially winning the game.
Well, and I've mentioned it before, and there is a benefit to not seeing too many games, and that is the evolving of these players and the progression, and that's exactly what this league is developed for and put in place for. And I see, I tend to say the same names, but it's really impactful what these players are doing. You're talking about the Kipfers, you're talking about Slattery, you're talking about Petrie, you're talking about Green, you're talking about these players that from game 1 to now, like you're saying, Les, and you've seen every game this year.
Marshall's another one.
Marshall, thank
Yeah.
you.
He hit a big goal there in 3.
Yeah,
I love everything about
Yeah.
that kid's game.
yeah. Well,
Drayson-
he's just his pedigree. Like
Drayson
he's
Campbell. There's a kid
wow.
playing
I
defense
mean,
that's playing lights out hockey.
Campbell and
He's leading the team in scoring.
Curtin.
Yeah.
Like
Or
it's.
assists at least.
Assists, yeah.
But with that being said, and not being redundant, but a huge congratulations to the coaching staff of bringing these players along and for them to really understand what it takes to play in this league. 14 rookies, like wrap your head around that. And here they are in the semifinal against a very highly talented Chatham team, and they've put themselves right back in the series.
Yep, because
2-2.
Yep, it's 2-2 after last night. Last night we saw something in the first period I've never seen before. All 4 goaltenders touched the ice. At one point it was 2-1 Stratford or 3-1 Stratford, and the shots on goal were literally 3-1. But all 4 goaltenders touching the ice in the same period. I've seen it in a game, just not in the same period in a tiny succession too. Because I don't even think we were 10 minutes into the game and we saw all 4
I text
goaltenders.
Holly. He goes, "What? Is that a misprint?"
Yeah,
All 4 goalies.
And if you would have gone into that game, if you would have told me in this series we were going to have a 6-5 hockey game, I would have said you were crazy. Just the way Stratford's defense is. But being able to keep Chatham, even on the power play, not giving up those goals. Because they came into the series at a 50% clip
Yeah.
in power play goals, and they have won this
How much do they
It's
miss
completely
Richter?
changed.
a lot.
Richter is
Oh,
huge.
and
And
later
folks,
on, Chase
full
Smith, too.
disclosure, like I was reading some comments online. That hit by Blake in the corner on Richter
It
was
was clean,
not
yeah.
vicious. Like that was somebody must have been a Chatham fan, and I get it.
Yeah.
It's your star player. That was not a vicious, malicious
It was
hit
just a
by
rub-up.
Blake. He was just finishing his. I watched it about 6 times to make sure I wasn't missing something. Like, did he, board him? Did he run? No. Like, all he did was, I thought it was gently finish his check. And it was just Richter got his, I think it's his right
It
shoulder.
was a bad pivot.
One of his shoulders for sure,
He
yeah.
got it. He must have just, hit it inadvertently, and he was crunched over going to the bench. But I just wanted to say, like, in game 3, Furlong played amazing and made a great save with 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes to go. With Brody Gillis was all alone in on, and he made one of your 10 bell saves. And then shortly thereafter, he made another save off of Truby, who was in all alone. He didn't get a great shot away, but Furlong, like, and the thing is they're at a stage right now where it's not one goalie deserves or the other. Willie's just going with the hot guy. Yep. And Halser and I saw it in Game 2 in London. So St. Mary's now is going with Booth Housego. They're riding him until he falters. But when Booth, like in stoppages in play, when they had called timeouts, Booth Housego would come over to the bench. Armelin and him are joking around, laughing. I love seeing that. Like, that's what I did with
You would know that firsthand.
100.
Right.
And so you, even though you're not playing, be a good teammate. Yep. And it's not Furlong versus McDougall. It's what is
Stratford
best for the
versus
team.
Chatham.
One night,
team.
Look at what happened. Okay, you've got Furlong starting Game 3, plays really well. Starts game
deservedly. Gets the net for Game 4.
Okay, Game 4, and I don't think they were all his fault. Like the fourth goal that chased him was stick side. Yeah. There was a lot of traffic crisscrossing in front of him
last night.
Yeah, last night. I don't know if he saw it. He gets pulled. Doogie goes in. Stops, I think, 18 of 19.
He did a really nice job.
Really
Well,
good.
just shut them out until
he
what?
did.
Last minute of the game.
Very last minute of the game.
But
So
Razor just like tidy, just cleaned it
Yes.
up. And Furlong, he had a great warm up. We were looking at him, and these are the tales of the tape in this league. And Furlong, keep your chin up, kid. Like everything's fine.
they may.
And it's high pressure. Like these are
Yes.
young players, and it's not about excuses. It's about the realities of what's going on. And I will stick up for Furlong all day long.
Yes.
He played a great Game 3
Mm-hmm.
and came out of the gate a little bit differently in Game 4. So when you
So
have
did the
that
team.
tandem,
Sorry
right?
to interrupt. I think the team came out a little differently too, because I think a point
I
needs
will
to be
say
made
that.
that not every goaltender gets pulled because of his own play.
100%.
Right. Yeah,
And I think Willie made a really correctly calculated decision.
he needed something.
When Furlong came out.
It wasn't that Doogie was lost the 2 games. It was the team needed a spark.
Yeah.
And that was a good way. And Furlong, he's not with the team because he's a road hockey goalie. This kid can play, and he probably will be there next year. And so he there's a good chance that they're both going to be playing before the end of the season's over.
Yeah.
So just be ready.
Yeah, now we're 2-2, so we got a series. We got a series.
Absolutely.
Here, folks, and it keeps the dream alive, is what it does. And these kids know it. And we go into Chatham Sunday. We can pull off a winning Chatham Sunday night and come home with a chance. Or Wednesday night, come home with a chance
Opportunity.
Friday night
Yep.
to put it away. That's huge.
I just
To do
think
it at
that
home.
I think
So-
Chatham. Sorry.
Sorry, really quickly, we like to keep the dialogue here with the viewers. Gary Broadhagen, who starts tomorrow night?
For McDougall.
Dugu?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Razor?
I think Doogie.
It's his
Yep.
series to lose.
He already says got to agree. Bevan Matheson got to go back to McDougall. He has the experience. So there you go. And not that we're coaching or have decision making or influence of any sort.
We're going
but
back to the hostile environment now.
You got called out, my friend,
I did get called out, but
on social media.
yeah, but Sunday night,
I saw that.
Sunday night, the mayor of Chatham comes up and asks if everything's okay. Heard there was some grumbling online about what I said.
The mayor.
Oh, really?
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
it wasn't
the
a
mayor.
guy from Alvinston, was it?
It was the mayor of Chatham, and he goes, "You need anything, you let us know." So good on them.
Are you safe? Or
It's
you feel
it's
safe?
it's not a great environment.
It wasn't Coach
There.
Bradley from the Lincoln's
Because he'd look like somebody's
incognito.
mayor, right?
Yeah.
It's
He looks like a mad
he just said-
scientist.
he said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to go up and talk to the broadcast guy and see if he can give me."
Well,
some
when I met him, I was
insider
like,
information."
"Let me get this straight. You're a hockey coach for the Lincolns." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "All right."
Yeah, very
He doesn't-
unassuming,
but he's
super nice guy.
Fantastically intelligent. for
Has
this
them
level of
very well
hockey.
coached.
He'd be a total winner on that old "What's My Line" show. Am I a hockey coach or a polymory chemist? I can bug Brad because we've had a few chats now that I get to know.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to know once I get to know.
And
you.
when I say stuff like that, I have complete respect for the individual and the head coach of the St. Mary's Lincolns.
Oh, yeah, great
But,
guy.
we had Dennis Flanagan Jr. on the broadcast again.
Oh, no, last
On
night?
Sunday night.
Or Sunday, sorry.
Sunday night, and it was kind of funny because I said to him, I called this place a hostile environment. And then I said, somebody called me out and said, do you remember the 90s? And I said, yeah, I remember the 90s. And Dennis says, oh, yes, I remember the 90s in here. It wasn't a hostile environment down there. It was like a penitentiary.
Hostile.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Penitentiary.
But I remember
Is
that.
that-
Alcatraz.
Isn't that a,
I
like
remember
a
the
adult
70s
movie?
when they cut the tires on our bus from that.
The Chatham Penitentiary.
Just Chatham Penitentiary.
That'd be in the curtain at Video Plus Books. The curtain. The Chatham Penitentiary.
So
Yeah,
now,
so
I don't know
moving,
why I just said
Yeah.
that.
moving forward in that series, I think it's a question of Chatham. Are they going to get healthy? Because they've lost two of their best players.
Right?
Yeah.
And Fortier
And,
Smith.
Fortier Smith and Richter. I mean,
Yes.
Richter has been an absolute horse since he got back from North Bay, was
North
it?
Bay, yep.
And, of course, Fortier Smith, he may not be the best defenseman on that team. That might be Van Netten. But still,
Yeah.
losing him is a big
Huge,
third year.
huge.
Big guy, good
If I'm
skater.
North Bay, I'm licking my lips going, we could have Kipfer and Richter full-time next year.
Last night, who was number 41, the 15-year-old? Or 47, was it 47 or
There was
41?
two of them.
Edgar,
There was
Edgar plays for AAA team.
Sun County.
Yeah, Sun County AAA. And the other kid, I can see.
It's okay if you don't
41
remember.
41, he played for the Dresden Kings.
15 years old,
15
and
years old.
I watched him shift to shift. He was
And
fantastic.
one of them, I forget
Edgar-
which one, was on the first power
He's some
play.
Edgar. Hey, Edgar.
Holy
This kid,
Unbelievable.
Yes.
he will play maybe 1 year in the Go, maybe not.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he is that good.
He is that. He's the
Yeah.
Carson Harmer that we had.
Right.
This kid is the deal, the real deal. You'll hear his name a lot, I think, next year with Chatham.
Yeah.
Because, they do have a young team as well in Chatham, and people seem to forget that. They have some older kids, but they do have quite a young team. And you're going to add Esom Edgar to this team full-time. They're going to be tough again next year.
Well, they're cultivating like
Yep.
I think Parsi and Clarkey and the team do. Again, not trying to be redundant, but like 14 rookies on this Warriors team.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have a quick conversation or comment. Blake's billets from the Culletons, and he was a first-time visitor at the shop today. And I wish I could remember his name, but I can't off the top of my head. And he has billeted Bell, and obviously he's left, and one other player. So I just asked him. I said, "How's your experience being a billet with this Junior B club?" And he goes, "Nothing but kudos to how this team teaches the players to act and learn how to be a part of the community." He goes, "This Blake goes out, shovels a driveway, cuts a lawn, all this different stuff, and it's such a great thing to." Bring up, because I think it's really important to really remind people how great of citizens these players are becoming, and the example that this organization demands. And I think it's across the slate of Junior B.
Yeah, and I've talked to Matthew Blake's parents a number of times, and they are down-to-earth, top-notch.
He's from just the other side of London.
Just the other side of London.
Yeah.
But he spends a lot of time in Stratford.
Yeah.
And his dad's usually at most of the games.
Yeah.
His mom was there the other night because it's just a little jaunt for them, right?
Yeah.
Jason Campbell's from Wallaceburg, so his whole family
Well,
was in Chatham, right?
we stood with Green's dad the
Yeah.
other night.
Yeah.
He's a peach.
Daryl.
I like Daryl.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
he's a beauty.
gosh.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's
Yeah.
like, we introduced ourselves, and he's, just feeling us out. And by the end of it, he's like, we're back and forth, and Razor likes to talk a bit. So here we were. No, respectfully.
He's loving the life.
Oh,
the
my
parent life.
God.
Well, he said he was he goes, I hear you guys talk about the Zach Magwood, so I had to go and Google it, and he goes, holy shit, that was quite a goal. So he was talking about coming to an Irish game. I invited him to come up into the Chirpers zone
Yeah.
for some beers. So.
Yeah. But,
Another funny thing, like some of the parents, they'll listen to the game on the air when we're away on the road. And Phil Westman's wife was listening to the game the other night after Carter got in the fight. And his mom, Kate, had gone right by me, right? And I just jokingly said, oh, she's gonna go check on Carter. She goes, I wasn't checking on Carter, but it's funny. All the parents, Stratford parents, travel very well. The Lewises are usually there all the time, and
Well, they're royalty, right?
Yeah. Robbie Lou.
there's no beer sales in Chatham, so it's.
I read that. That's crazy. I can't believe that.
I was talking to two Chatham fans last night. The guy says, I don't know how we're getting home.
But I just thought it was worthy of bringing that up because I think it's such a reflection of the tradition that even back when you played Razor, you guys had your fun, and we all know about that, and the fun that people didn't know about. We know about that, but when you're in front of the public and you're representing a team, especially like the Warriors or the Lincolns, I mean, these kids are just. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I'll say another thing. Bus ride home after a winning Chatham is a lot more fun than a bus ride home after
Oh,
a
yeah.
Aiden Wilson was wound on the bus on the way home.
Oh, really?
I don't think anybody was safe at the back of the bus because he was
Like,
just
what does
on
that mean?
fire.
He's wanted,
he was taking people's shoes and throwing them around. And
Oh,
he was
that's
just he
goes
was just-
against everything I
So
just said.
he's not playing euchre
was
like
having-
we used to do,
Yeah, he was just having a good time at the back.
$100,
They
right?
were loud and proud at the back of the bus.
I gotta give a shout out to Jonas Schmidt. Man,
Yes.
what a goal! The second goal of the game that he scored, like that was like an
lit
OHL,
up the arena.
an OHL wrist shot on De Blasi,
Yep.
and that chased him from the game, which was surprising. Now the first goal De Blasi should have had, he whiffed on it.
That's de Blasi's first playoff game action
Yeah.
in a long
And we were
time.
saying that,
And in
and
fairness, his first game of any kind of action in weeks.
Yeah.
right, because we were talking before we went on air. The poor kid gets called up to Saginaw,
6
and
hour
he's
drive.
and he's backing up the goalie there.
it's not 6
trip.
hours.
Then-
6 hours. Round trip. Sorry.
Then when he's
Sorry,
down in Chatham, Saginaw tells Chatham that they don't want him playing in case he gets hurt because then they're going to need him up if they need him in Saginaw. So the kid's backing up in Chatham. He's backing up in Saginaw. The poor kid, when's the last time he played a game, right?
3.5 weeks, probably.
Yeah.
That's the way it is when an OHL team owns your rights. The OHL team dictates what happens.
Thank God London has a different approach and
Well,
gave us Wilmore a few
yeah,
years
but-
ago, eh?
You asked Nick Parr about how much negotiating they had to do to make that happen. There was a lot of back and
It's
forth.
all said and
Whatever.
done.
it- Hey,
It
and
was
that's
fantastic,
why.
and you're right.
That's
Russ, yeah.
that's why they've changed around the fortunes of the team.
Yep.
Like it's because of negotiations like that.
Yeah, because
and
Nelly
it was
said he
smart
all
and
over that too, right?
and I don't want to be disrespectful or sound disrespectful, but when the price got too high on Lincoln Moore, Nick just said,
Yep.
"I'm out."
Yep.
Right? But Stratford doesn't have 4 lines that can score like St. Mary's does. St. Mary's is technically closer, to the Sutherland Cup than they are.
I think we
but-
should get into the St. Mary's series because I think there's been a dozen non-goals.
Yep. So just
Brian's just gonna
just
go
full
off.
circle,
Well,
and
I just-
he's on his phone and he's checking his blood pressure, and here we
Well,
go.
no, I just want to give a shout out as well before we leave the Stratford series to all of the fans who showed up dressed as empty seats.
Oh dear.
I am calling out the Stratford Warriors fan base. There were less than 600 people for Game 4.
Yep.
All right, this is a team that is going already beyond expectations. A bunch of kids has been noted on this table several times that are busting their tails. There's local talent. There's good talent on the other side to entertain you. It's good hockey. It's early at night, and it'll be Friday night Game 6 and might be a chance to get into the final.
Yeah.
Stratford Warriors fans, I am challenging you right now. Get that number over 1,000. You are getting your attendance butts kicked by a city out 20 minutes away that is a third your size. There is a history and a tradition of filling that barn for the playoffs, and I want all you people to get your butts out there and watch this team make it to the final.
Here, here.
Jeff-
Well said. Well
Jeff Shaw
said.
sent me a message. There's pre-sale Thursday at 5 to 7 at the William Allman box.
Line him
office
up
if you
to
wanna get your
New
tickets.
Orleans Pizza.
Get it back to the old days because if Stratford gets through this series, everybody knows what's coming.
Ugh.
I
that would be
I
a
don't-
dream.
I don't want to look for. I want to look forward to, it, but I don't want to look forward to. it.
Right.
I
gotta
tell
get
you
through
what
this
happened, and one of the reasons that I'm fired up about this is what we saw Sunday night in London.
Yeah.
There was
Stratford,
more people
don't
there.
let yourself be London. There were more Lincoln's fans in London than there were London fans in London. And that's not an exaggeration. That is not in any way spouting hyperbole. So, Stratford fans, I'm calling you out. Get your butts in the Willie Friday night and make it loud.
Chatham had 1165 Sunday night.
So, fair to say, Holly, what do you think it is?
Oh, well,
Like,
I
respectfully.
Don't think it's, but it's hard to avoid being too negative when you look at that. But I mean, I think you're looking at a combination of things. I really do. Now, in fairness, first of all, it wasn't their regular home date. When you have a team in place for 50 years, people have a tradition of going on Friday nights. The other thing is it's a midweek game, so I know that there are some kids who couldn't be there for the Wednesday game that may or may not be there for the Friday game. So the number will certainly be bigger. Having said that, I don't know if there's a connection problem here because, like I said, there's lots of local talent playing. I've heard the complaint before in Stratford that I don't like going to see the Culletons unless there's somebody I know or somebody I can relate to.
Sure.
There is Slattery from Stratford. There is Kipfer from Milverton.
Aaron Green from
There's
Shakespeare.
Aaron Green from Stratford. There are a bunch of
Cole
kids
Lewis
on this
from
team.
Stratford.
Cole
Jonas
Lewis from
Petrie.
Stratford.
Oh, there's a
Zachary
bunch.
Scully.
There's a bunch.
There's
Yeah.
lots of local
Yes.
talent, and so they're a good hockey club. They're a local hockey club, and they're a fantastic hockey club. And they're playing in the second round of the playoffs against a really an elite team. And they
Semifinal.
clawed their way back to 2-2 after giving up 10 goals in 2 games, which is as anti-Stratford as can get at this level, especially with Chatham not scoring any power play goals. So that's, and I don't know if it's the price, whether Ma and Pa and the 2 kids are saying you're pricing yourselves right out of our budget. I know it's more expensive nowadays. I know that it should be noted that that's not Stratford pricing.
Yeah.
That
No, it's
is
league price.
League
league-mandated pricing
mandated.
because it's the same price in St. Mary's that I paid, as I paid in London, as I paid in Ayr. And I've been, in 4 different barns now in this league already in the playoffs. And there are 5 teams out of the 16 that got into the playoffs originally that are averaging over 1,000 per game.
Well,
there are 4 teams
just
that are
look down the
averaging
highway.
less. There are 4 teams that are averaging less than they did in the regular season. 3 of those teams only had 2 home dates because they were getting pumped, like LaSalle and Hamilton, and the other team that lost, I forget now. But the 4th team is Stratford. Stratford is the only team that made the second round that's actually averaging less people per game
than
they did in the regular season. And that, to me, is really tough to explain.
Right.
And so I don't know if there's too many screens at home. I know that's part of it, that people just don't go out anymore. I don't know. You can't blame the weather because last night was about the worst you could get as weather goes in April. We got a bit of snow and it was chilly. But so I don't know what it is. So slap off the lethargy off your legs and go scrape out your piggy bank and go watch some really good hockey.
Well, and you know what? Like well said. Like I know it hasn't hurt St. Mary's' attendance that they went to the All-Ontario Finals last year and lost in what was it, the league finals 2 years ago?
They lost in the conference final to Leamington 2 years ago.
Right.
And they lost in the Southey final last year to
Listowel.
Okay. 2 years ago, Stratford lost in the Southey final to
Leamington.
and lost in the conference final to Listowel. So they have identical playoff histories over the last 2 years.
Good point.
Literally
Good point.
identical. Lost to the same 2 teams at the same levels, just in different years. Yeah. And yet St. Mary's is turning them away at the door.
Our gentle messages support your local hockey team.
Yeah.
It's a great
product.
It really is. It's a great product.
Wes, it's fantastic. And these players, we were there last night and we had a hoot.
And folks, you got to come and see these bartenders at the Junior B games from, Downey and Staggy, like great guys. They'll look after you. So come down to the
I
Almond.
had a good conversation with Hunter Nagy. I don't know if you guys noticed at the end of the game when he got that tripping call. Nagy didn't even touch the guy.
Last
Funny,
night?
Last night.
Yeah.
Late in the game, he gets a tripping call. He didn't even touch the guy. He said his stick was a foot away from the guy. And after the game, we were up top and we were talking about it. And Clarky asked me, he said, "Oh, that stick was nowhere near close." So I posted it on. They posted the clip to Nagy. I said, "What the heck were you doing? That's the worst call I've seen all year."
Yeah.
He
So
goes, "Oh, man."
don't come to the game for the bad calls.
That's right.
Come to the game because
cold
support,
beer.
Yeah, for the cold beer.
Right.
So there's that.
Come for the hockey, stay for the beer.
Right.
All right. So Holly,
That's all I got for that.
I appreciate that, and it probably should be addressed because it's every element that you could want in junior hockey, including local talent, arena, experience. Will you're going to hear the roar of the crowd, and we just ask you to come down and enjoy.
And let's face it, there's not a lot you can do these days to go out for a night's entertainment for less than $50.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair.
So Holly,
Yes.
you are our ambassador for the Lincolns. Where do you want to start this story?
Do we talk about hockey bags first?
When did we talk? When did we talk last? With the
I hadn't
series?
started yet.
Okay, so it was nice to watch St. Mary's come out with 2 weeks off, like a full 14 days off since their last game, and came out and absolutely went to town forechecking, got their forechecking game going right away, scored early again, didn't give up a goal in the first period again. In fact, it wasn't until last night, the 8th game of the playoffs, that they even gave up a goal in the first period. So that's one thing that's been really anchoring this playoff run, is they're not getting behind early. And so it was a complete effort on Friday night's game 1. It was a complete effort by everyone, including the Nets, who just made every effort possible to jump right off the moorings. And I tried to keep account best I could. I got to 8. Casimir Wexstrom is a wonderful goaltender. He's a big kid. He's very mobile. He goes side to side. And so I'm not going to sit here and get on him like I might have gotten on a Reinhardt in years past with Elmira. He simply moves to his right, and if he even nudges that net, it comes off.
Yeah.
Okay, what we have now, I'm going to get to the Nets in a minute. I want to get through the play first, and because once we get on the Nets, we're probably going to go off a little bit about
20
that
minutes.
So there were 15 power plays in the second period, though, and that nobody wants that. And I'm not saying there was one way or the other. There were 15 power plays in the game, and the second period I think were 7 of them. And I thought to myself, how can we get any kind of a hockey game here when the whole period is nothing but stoppages for penalties and stoppages for net being off? And so when you add to that, you're playing a London team who cannot seem to just have a whistle blow and go to a face-off. They have to wash somebody's face. They have to push me, shove you. Your mother wears army boots. And it's just so exhausting to watch that team play because they want to get into it every
That's the
single
coaching.
So they hung on and won 4-2 at home, and then they went into London on Sunday. Razor went up with me to watch that game.
Yeah.
London was better. They were quicker. Their forecheck was a lot better on home ice in game 2, and Colby Booth-Houseco was fantastic. And we should probably
Great.
say as well that he started both those first 2 games.
Yeah.
In fact, he started all 3 games. And for the first time all year, Coach Jeff Bradley has decided to go with 1 horse instead of 2. I feel bad for Nico Armelin, who
goalie,
who has a 169 goals against average and a 940 save percentage in the playoffs and got benched.
Yeah, you're going to sit tonight
because he's playing better.
Yeah.
And nobody can argue that. We wondered how long they'd go with the rotation like they did in the first round. I thought it really paid off in the first round after a double overtime loss on Thursday night in Waterloo. Then coming right back on Friday for Game 5, and Chartrand is there after a 55 save gem in double overtime.
Gassed.
And you could tell his legs were a little jello-y.
Yeah.
And he looks down the other end and sees the first team all-star goalie in the league who hasn't played in 3 days.
Right.
And so he's fresh, and that ended up being a 6-0 blowout, and that is just another strength of this Lincoln squad.
Well, that's their 2 goalies. You've got Booth-Houseco, who's the all-star goalie of the league.
Yep.
And you've got Armelin, who's the rookie all-star goalie of the league. Yeah. Not a bad 1-2 punch.
Exactly. Something that is probably unprecedented at this level.
I would have to agree.
So they go up into London, and they were very good again. Again, London was better. There's a little bit of pushback there. But eventually, and London actually went 23 minutes without a penalty.
Yeah.
Might be a new record for the season, I'm guessing. But as soon as they took a penalty, St. Mary scored on the power play, and they got a shorty out of Wortman.
Yeah.
On a beautiful shot over the left shoulder of the goaltender, and then just kind of salted it away for a 4-1 victory.
You know what I loved about Vortman's goal, and we've talked about it a lot, where he came in like 1-on-2. He had the two London defensemen in front of him, and he ripped a wrist shot in between the two defensemen and didn't try beating them. And Weckstrom couldn't pick it up in time and ended up watching it go glove side on him. But
And he's got such a good release, too.
really good release. Like well, Vandenbrink had that great release.
Yep.
To start the game, 3:07 into it, but yeah,
2-1 there, yeah.
Vortman shorty, then the stupidity started. You had Spagnuolo spearing the guy there at the end of the second period.
Yep.
He gets a double minor, not a 5-minute major for spearing, a double minor, and then which London player speared?
Was it McSorley?
It might have been
When
McSorley,
if something stupid happens, I just assume.
right? Yeah.
His name pops into
Him
my
or
head.
Doyle, one of
Yeah.
the two.
So, yeah, I mean, and he ended up getting a double minor for spearing. Could someone please tell me when we started calling spearing a minor penalty?
100%.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree
When
with you
in
more,
life-
Holly.
In an age where we
Yeah.
suspend 6 games for slurs, and then all of a sudden you can have a minor penalty for spearing.
Spearing.
Which is about 2 inches below slewfoot
Yeah.
in my book.
I couldn't agree more,
Yeah.
Holly.
So if
Couldn't
you
agree
ever
more.
got a spear, I'm old, I get it. But if you ever got a spear when I played hockey, or for years after I played hockey, there was no minor penalty for a spear. It was 5 minutes in a game.
Gone.
Like I saw
Yeah.
several referees who would call a slash for like a mini spear or a little, you know what I mean? Something
Yeah.
that wasn't really egregious.
Right.
I would see a slashing penalty called instead. Kind of like you see now boarding instead of hitting from behind, because then you got to throw the guy out, right?
Yeah.
So, but I just don't get 4 minutes for spearing. If he's spearing, that is
It should be a gameless conduct.
Let me simply ask this: has there ever been a spear in the history in this game that was not an intent to injure?
Never.
Because I
Never.
never did one.
Right.
I'm not going to say I never speared a guy,
Right.
but every time I did it, I really wanted
You wanted to hurt
Oh,
somebody.
absolutely, I did.
Right?
So, anyways, moving on from that,
Well,
because
when was the spear in the game, though?
Well, there was two
Was
of
it
them.
the
There
there
were,
were two. Spagnuolo right near the end of the second, and then whoever it was.
I forget who it was. You're probably right. It was probably McSorley. It was either probably him
it
or
was
Doyle.
First 5. It was shortly after the Spagnuolo penalty expired.
Yeah.
And he got a 4-minute
Yep.
spear of his own. So they hang on. They get the empty netter on another nice rush by Vortman. Ends up with 2 goals. He's that guy nobody talks about. He had 27 goals and 60 points in the regular season. Nobody ever talks about him because he's the third guy on that Spagnuolo and Lee line. But
It was Doyle.
It was
It was Doyle in the
Okay,
third.
fair
Sorry.
enough. So, well, we're done seeing Doyle, I think, for a little while. So, and then now I got to talk about last night's game, and that's why I sigh. This was, this was probably the worst junior hockey game I saw all year, for several reasons.
Without sounding dramatic, Holly, don't leave out details. Just explain it.
Okay. Well, it started off with 10 minor penalties being called by the referees in the first period, which made the first period last longer. It started at 7:30, and I'm following the Stratford game on the app, and you are 5 minutes into the second period, just as our first period is ending. I feel like I'm at an NHL game where we've had 4 of those 3-minute commercial breaks, or like a college football bowl game that takes 4 hours to play. It was interminable.
Now, we
And-
did start a half an hour early,
well,
but still.
there was
still.
4, there were probably 4 there. What did I say at the time? This is junior B hockey played by teenagers who don't need your help to fill up a penalty box.
That's right.
These guys hack. They snap.
Right.
They hook. They hold. They stop moving their feet and snowshoe. They do all that stuff. They don't need you to call it ticky tack. And you will not hear me go on about a referee too often, ever, because it's a waste of time, because they don't care what I think. But nobody wants that, and it just slowed the game down. So when you add together that with the net issue, which I will get into soon enough, it went off another 8 or 10 times. Now it's Wilson in net for game 3 instead of Wexstrom, which just
that was mind blowing. I couldn't believe that text when you sent that. I'm like, what? Like, and then I had to check and see if Wexstrom was even dressed, and he was the backup.
He was the backup, and Trey Hamilton, who was just on with us, was at the game with me, who is a former goaltender as well, and he's like, so that's the guy you were talking about? And I go, no, that's Wilson. He's the backup. He's going, well, it sure seems like he's taken number one, like, starter warm-up. And there's, I don't pay that much attention to it being a non-goalie. I just sit there feeling sorry for goaltenders. And so he's like, I'm pretty sure that's starter warm-up stuff. I'm going, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they?
Because Wexstrom didn't play bad in game 2. He didn't play great.
I didn't like the first goal, but maybe, at the end of the day, they've been outplayed in 5 of the 6 periods in this series, and maybe Brandon Pruss thought we need a spark, just like Stratford was talking about.
Yeah.
But the difference being is that Stratford had pulled their guy and ran with Furlong, who had a great game the rest of the way, made those 3 saves in game 1 that like 2 on breakaways, I think.
Yeah.
Like that could have been
that
could have been 8-4 before they even had a chance to get a goal disallowed in the last minute. And but there was nothing. There was no warning. There was nothing. It was just Wilson starting. And I will tell you, he started slow. And Trey mentioned the same thing. When's the last time this guy played? And I went, shots to the net, shots to the net. And one of the first couple of shots he saw was from Livermore in the high slot. And he put it low on the
stick side. Yeah.
And he didn't look good in that. He did, however, look good later on once he scraped some rust off. That's why I was wondering about DeBlassie getting pulled, whether they might have stuck with him a little longer, whether he could have got his feet kind of settled in there. But anyway, that's another story.
He had to make a save. And
at the end of the day, Wilson 100%. Did play okay. But, I mean, like I said, the game was just the longest game I can remember ever going to.
Well, how long was it? 2.5 hours, you said?
Official time was 2 hours and 48 minutes. Like I've been to quicker IBL games.
When you said that to me, I was wondering why my phone wasn't refreshing last night, because I was at home and it's still showing in the third period in St. Mary's, and it was validated. It was true.
Stratford game was 2:05. So that shows you half hour.
So I mean, I joked
almost
with Trey.
50 minutes longer.
I joked with Trey. I said Chatham's going to be home before I am.
Right.
Chess, our fact checker and friend of the show, is loving it. Preach.
Well,
Preach, Holly.
Then, we got to the third period, and St. Mary's was clinging to a 4-3 lead, I think. And you'll have to remind me who got the 5-3 goal.
5-3 was Lee.
Oh, right. Yeah, on the play in front. Beautiful play by Spagnuolo.
How could you forget?
Yeah. One-timer.
Pass behind your back across the high slot.
What a great pass by Spags.
It was.
Backhand, saucy, over a couple of sticks.
Beautiful.
Lee one-times it.
It looked like a pass between two guys that have played together since they were 12.
They have.
Oh, right, they have. Fun fact.
The Milton twins.
Fun fact.
Or the Zares and Tavistock.
Right.
One of the two.
That goal, the net was off. The near post, it was right. I'm sitting right there, and I'm here to tell you, as sure as I'm sitting here, the net was off, and everybody around me said the same thing. How does that count? The freaking net's off. It was off about 2 inches on the near post. We could all see it from the stands. The referee was on our side and looking right at it and ignored it. And I just went, okay, this is what we're doing now, because already St. Mary's has had, by my count, 6 goals disallowed in this series.
And it's not like as if you're embellishing. You were being totally transparent and factual. I'm watching the highlights on 519 this morning, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. The league needs to mandate that, which we'll get into.
Yep.
But
so ostensibly, what you've got now is that St. Mary's has more goals disallowed than London has goals.
Legitimately. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, but so I guess I always consider the listeners and viewers, why, and I don't expect you to have an answer, but why is that, Holly? Why is it that you guys have had 7 to 9 goals disallowed?
Because St. Mary's is forechecking like St. Mary's forechecks, and they are an absolute nightmare. They play the game so fast. I've said this many times over the last couple of years. The biggest reason, in my humble opinion, that St. Mary's is so successful is because from day one, Jeff Bradley has had them playing at a pace that is uncomfortable for them to play at. And the longer that it's just like anything in life. When you take yourself out of your own comfort zone, you gain a larger comfort zone. So if you think it's uncomfortable for you to play at that pace, think about your opposition who never plays at that speed.
Right.
And they play at that speed all the time.
So Rhett Chessel messages in and said, if it's off the mooring, why is there no delay of game penalty?
That is a great question. Why is it after 8, 9, 10 times in a game, when the net goes off, the referee doesn't have off a penalty? I believe, and I have seen over the course of the last 2 or 3 years out there, that referees have gotten so disgusted with how easily the net comes off that they just say to the players that are complaining, don't look at me, tell the rink to put better posts in and keep the net on. The net comes off, that's not my fault, that's not his fault.
Bad
At the end of the
approach.
day, if a goalie can't go up against the post without the net coming off,
Right.
you can't hardly blame the goalie. So when the goalie goes over there hard with every intention in his own mind, but the one thing that we learn as an umpire, I was an umpire for years, the one thing that you cannot make a call on is intent, because you don't know what his intentions
Right.
were. All right? You can't look into a kid's mind and say, I know you intended to knock that net off, because all he's doing is coming across trying to make a save. Wexstrom is a big 6'4", 200 and something pound kid who only needs to give that a little nudge. So he is a smart enough kid, just like Reinhardt. We all complained about Reinhardt, but at the end of the day, he was smart enough to get away with it time and time and time.
Well,
and time.
he knew the parameters, right?
Exactly. So-
could do it in Stratford as well.
100%. Yeah.
But
That's hard to
tell
do.
you how to tell you how easily these things come off. Chase Furlong, 151 pounds, soaking wet, with bricks in his pocket, touches the net in Chatham and it pops off. So, you know.
So for those of
Nothing
you
holding it on.
that, for
That's what
people
we're trying
that,
to paint a picture for.
people that don't know what we're talking about. Okay, so in Stratford, what they do is they have a drill bit, they have a cordless drill, they drill down and they put rubber pegs that go like 3 inches below the ice surface. Does a great job. Now, if there's a guy coming into the net who's been upended, the rubber posts are designed so that the net will come off and, you know, not hurt a player. Not like the old days
With the metal
with the
peg.
metal pegs, that, you know, where it was like running into a brick wall.
Well, I remember waking up beside a net after I went head first into a post when I played.
Yeah, yeah.
And my brother looking down on me going, "You alive?" And I just literally came out. I probably was concussed. I don't know. But I mean,
We didn't
I
have
was,
concussions back
I-
then. It was
I-
just a head knock.
I was 200 pounds at least in my playing days, and I went head first into the net, and the net I lost.
And honestly, like, I'll be honest with you guys, it's just laziness by London, by St. Mary's, and by Chatham not putting in the rubber posts, because it's not because they don't have the ability to do it. Every rink has a cordless drill. It's because they use, I love your terminology, and I had never heard it in my 30 years, corn cob posts, where it's like, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4.
Sometimes it's
one.
2.
Yes, yes, and what happens is it's like a half inch of steel coming down, and with one hand, an 8-year-old could knock the net off. Like, it is so ridiculous.
And the contradiction is what I'm trying to say is that they've got points on them, but there's a hole drilled out there. Like the hole is drilled out in where the post goes, which is contrary to what you're hoping. You don't want a hole. But when you keep moving the net and pounding it into the ice, you make a hole around where the post
Right.
goes. So the more times it comes off, the easier it is to knock it off.
Exactly.
Okay? So I don't know if I want to contradict what you said about the laziness. I believe that in some, because like I said, this is a local decision, and I mean town hall, city council, whoever you're talking about. They're the ones that decide. They're the ones running the rink. They're the ones who are making the insurance risk calculation, and they decide to go with these. particular because they are the safest.
Like, all I can go by is what Stratford.
Right,
And
so-
so our manager, not once. So our old supervisor, before he moved on to become the manager of Aaron, he ended up buying these cord cob posts for us out of Dufferin. And he said, I've got these, you know, I wondered if you guys could use these. And we laughed at him. And we're just like, they're garbage. Like, they're plastic. They're plastic posts with the steel spikes. They're garbage. And we never used them. They're probably still collecting dust on the shelf there back in the Olympia room at the Dufferin. But it just makes no sense. So I get what you're saying, I would be shocked, though, Halser, if anyone at City Hall in St. Mary's, Chatham, or London is going, insurance reasons, we got to use these.
That's what they told me at the rink.
It's possible. I'm just going by what
the
Stratford.
city said use these. That's what they told me at the rink.
Mark Hackett, you know, who
You know what the difference might be, though, too, is, and I'm just saying, St. Mary's City Council, city workers are not unionized. I don't know if that's a factor. I don't know.
I don't know if that would matter at all,
But-
because
but
it's probably up to the manager. Like, I would be shocked unless there was a specific incident where a kid or an adult got hurt because of a rubber post like Stratford. I would be absolutely shocked.
And that's what we don't know, right? In fairness, there could have been a U18 kid who went in there.
Possibly.
And, heaven forbid, got his neck.
But if
broken
that
or
hasn't
something.
happened, I'm going to call bullshit that they're just being lazy. Oh, these are easy. Boom. You know, we'll put them
You could
in.
use both styles. You could use the peg for the junior games, and then
That's what they do.
I guess
Like,
my
down
biggest
at-
question is, what stops the net coming off 17 times?
Well, here's the thing:
game.
is that the thing that I guess is really has to be added to the conversation is that this isn't new.
yeah, no, it's not.
Like
it's
it's
just
in the last 3 years, I've been a season ticket holder there. That's they're the same nets.
It's just prevalent
But
now
it's
because of
only
the
certain
playoffs.
goalies that are knocking it off regularly,
Right.
who are good at it.
it's really come
Like
to
the
the front.
The net only goes off 2 or 3 times at the St. Mary's end,
yeah,
but it goes off 10 or 12 times when a guy like Wexler.
Well, the numbers don't
It's-
lie.
Right? Like the one save that Wilson was making, he was a starfish. Left leg kicks off the post. St. Mary scores, and you can see the referee immediately calling it off. He knew what he was doing.
Sure.
Like, there was no need for him to starfish before, I forget who it was, had shot the puck. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. He felt the heat, and he ends up, pushing that off just in case they score on him. And now I'm
so
protected.
this might all become mute next year if the OHL brings in the carry-on rule, the same thing they have in the NHL. Whereas if the net comes off the pegs and the puck crosses the line, it's still
a good goal.
And
So if
that's
the OHL does it, more likely the Go would do the same.
Right.
I think they need to, because the league will not be able to mandate the
What cities
locals
do,
to put these posts in.
Right.
You can't.
It'll be a
mandate-
nightmare.
The
That's
city
what
will just
Kevin Smith was saying last
Yeah,
night.
it'll be an
like
insurance
the-
nightmare.
Exactly right. You can't mandate
Yeah.
this to happen. But the only thing I guess I thought of maybe is that perhaps there is a waiver that could be signed by the players of the league to
The league could
to
say
exonerate responsibility.
that this
from
is
the
this
town.
is what we are wanting. It's like the face masks, right? Where a few years ago, all the kids were saying, "Well, we want to be like the Tier 2 Junior A and only have
And
the
they all
half."
advisors.
Right. So they all went to visors,
Record amount of injuries.
and Stratford said, "We want you to sign a waiver because we know where this is going to go." And sure enough,
Same place it always
I was working the one night. Stratford's playing Waterloo. Kid defenseman from Waterloo got a slap shot. It was a deflection right off the mouth. He's in the dressing room, and I'm like, oh, shit. So I took a mop and bucket because I knew how much blood was on the ice. So I went into the dressing room, and there he is with his mom, and his mom is losing it because he had just got his braces off like a month before, probably paid like $6 or $8 grand.
Horrible.
And he just lost his 4 front teeth. Because he had to look cool wearing a half visor. The league went back to the full face the very
I
next
remember
year.
that when Stratford was against all that.
They were the only ones.
Yeah.
They were the only ones going, are you guys out of your frickin' minds? Like, this is ridiculous.
Because I've heard chatter about that this year. that they may go back to the visors.
Yeah, good luck.
And I'm
Same
like,
thing.
Good
no,
luck.
They won't make that mistake
No.
again, I don't think.
No. But
So at the end of the day, we've got a problem that is not going to get solved in these playoffs, so we got to figure out how to do it. So just to finish game 3, I suppose, St. Mary's gets 2 empty net goals. It's now 7-3, to which I said London losing it in 3-2-1. And sure enough,
Kabingo.
off they
Right.
go. And I'm not sure what part of the whole scene distressed me the most. That one young man grabs an unsuspecting St. Mary's Lincoln, literally rips his helmet off, and starts going at him.
Doyle.
The guy wants no part of it. He's on top of him, feeding it to him. He gets out from that. He gets him back down again. The linesmen are over breaking up a different fight, and there is referee, and I am calling him out. His name is Hollister, standing there watching this kid get fed.
It was McClellan.
Just getting fed and fed and fed, and he's standing there looking at his book, taking numbers. Like his report is more important than this kid getting
Well,
kicked. And
let's
I don't know which part of that was more disturbing to me.
and let's call out
How do you
Doyle
stand
because
there?
Doyle did it a year ago.
There's video of him with Port Colborne. and
Port Stanley. He was playing in Junior C, and so like he's got a history
Yep.
of doing that, and it was ugly. Like McClellan really could have been hurt.
He was trying like anything to get
He's
away
got
from
his
this
helmet
guy.
off.
Yep.
Who Doyle ripped it off. They don't show that in the video, but he rips his helmet off, and he's trying to punch the kid while he's laying on the ice.
And
Like
that's-
that is gutless.
That is gutless. When there's fighting in hockey, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not going to lie, and I've never made any bones about that. But there are still got to be some standards of respect on the ice. When a man is down,
Yes.
the fight is over. In
Over.
the game of hockey, the fight is over.
Yes.
And you're hard pressed to find any lower opinion of a kid, a guy, any age, whatever, who stands over top of a guy and keeps feeding it to him when he is clearly
But it
lost.
wasn't
For
even
the
a
second
fight.
time. For
Right,
the
but
second time.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a fight though. McClellan didn't even want to fight him. It was Doyle just being an idiot.
Yep.
Like if you look at the
Well,
first video,
but there's idiots, Razor, and there's Holly's point is you have a ref standing there because he feels he has the need to take a number. You've got a kid getting pummeled.
yes,
Figure it out or fuck off. Like, sorry for the F-bomb.
What-
It's
what are you
absolutely
doing?
irresponsible.
It was
Here's the numbers for
dangerous.
you. 911. The kid's about to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Break the fight up.
yeah.
Jump on this guy and stop him from going nuts.
Yeah.
Good
It's not
Lord.
1975.
And he was helpless.
Yeah, he was, and he was lucky to, like you said, he got out of being laying vulnerable on the ice, but he had his back to Doyle while Doyle is still just
Still
feeding
feeding
him,
it to
and
him.
then he got him back down.
And that referee is
Standing there.
looking
But
at
even the
him.
linesmen, the guys weren't doing anything nearly as severe as what Doyle was doing with
So
McClellan.
finally, one of the linesmen reaches in with one, and that's all it took, just to even get an arm in between to slow this guy, slow the jackhammer down. And that is just the second game in a row, because when the empty net was scored in game 2 to make it 4-1, there was
What
a
did-
dozen seconds left.
what did McSorley
And so
do?
what does Brandon Prost do? He puts his goon McSorley out on the ice, who starts swinging his stick around and aiming it at St. Mary's players. And somehow the coach is not suspended for this. Because that, to me, is a suspendable offense. You send a goon out with 9 seconds left in a dead hockey
Yeah.
game. This is not the NHL, dude. This is
Yeah.
not the NHL. And if that was my only concern about Brandon Prost, that would be enough to be concerned about his future in the league. But when you watch his team play and you see a lack of structure and you see guys diving and you see guys jumping on sticks, trying to
Breaking
break
sticks,
them,
$200 sticks.
and like just in stoppages, just to act like the biggest knob on the planet, play after play after play. I met the Pomerlows, the owners of that franchise.
Lovely,
They are a very
lovely
nice couple.
people.
Mrs. Pomerlow is a lovely woman. She has put on record that they don't want to have their teams going parades to the penalty box, and yet there they are time and again. And this is not the first time. Remember the end of game dust up in Port Colborne, which was a huge mess. Remember the kids getting injured at the end of the game against Waterloo 2 months later.
Yeah.
And now you've got this nonsense going on. Brandon Pruss has been suspended twice already in this league. And I really hope he is not standing behind the bench for Game 4 on Wednesday night. If he does, I feel like it's a failure for the league because somebody, and his assistant coach got kicked out at the end of the second period. He had to do the walk
mouthing off the ref.
Mouthing off the rest if they walked across the ice. The league needs to step in and get this mob under control. Because my biggest fear for Game 4 is that St. Mary's gets up 4-0. Remember what happened in Game 5 against Waterloo? They got up a bunch, 6-0, and Waterloo could have turned that into a circus, and they didn't. And
Right.
respect to them.
Right.
But if St. Mary's gets up by a similar score in Game 4, what do you think is going to happen? My only hope for Game 4 is that it goes to overtime and St. Mary's scores in overtime to end the series so that London doesn't have any time to do that garbage on the ice anymore. And am I slightly biased because it's a team that I like to watch? Yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, it is embarrassing to see.
The examples
a
are
team
there, Holly.
It starts with
perform
Prost.
like
The
this.
Let's
examples
face
are
it.
there.
I have never been a coach at that level in hockey, but I have been in baseball. And I'm here to tell you right now, the one thing that is consistent from football to baseball to hockey doesn't matter what sport. The coach is responsible for the culture of the team.
Absolutely.
And if the team is out of control, it means the coach has let it be that way.
Prost specifically put McSorley on the ice
Yes, he
when the
did.
game was in
Yep.
hand there in Game 2.
And now let's picture if that is an NHL game. And what's going to happen? You're going to have two coaches screaming at each other through plexiglass. You're going to have a war of words through the press after the game, and it's going to be a total lack of respect. And yet he pulls this garbage in junior frickin' B.
Right. And then you've got in Game 3, you've got Doyle doing his thing. Then you had
the examples are there.
you had Ballack. We haven't even talked about him. He
The
gets
knee on Montesi. We never talked about that.
Ballack has got the cross check, face mask, inciting opponent. Like the game was 7-3.
That's the same stoppage as the Doyle fight.
Okay.
Same stoppage.
And so they just need to straighten it out. Like I don't know if these guys think that they're the Streetsville Derbies. They're not that good. And you're not tough.
And they're not that tough.
They're not tough.
And they don't have a really, like I said, when we talk about structure, their structure seems to be skate in the zone as fast as you can and shoot it.
Right.
Very few plays, very few design plays. Their breakout is sketchy. And so it's not just about all the garbage, like the stepping on the sticks. That's awesome. That's really classy, right? That's putting the ass in class right there, I tell you what.
Yeah.
But I just had enough of watching this team. And I watched this same team last year for 7 games and never had any of this stuff to say, but that was a different coach.
Sure.
And they had Chard last year, too. So they actually had good.
So you won't have to worry about Doyle.
Well, Doyle
next
is
game 'cause
suspended
he got
and
suspended.
Kopchik is suspended
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I've already seen that.
Bollock will play because he didn't get any suspendable offense there, but he'll still play.
Unbelievable.
So, like I said, the
so
only thing
it-
I hope for in Game 4 is that it's a win in overtime so that London doesn't have a
Yeah,
chance to
well,
play
you're
a bunch
right,
of
Holly.
games.
You're right for your player safety.
Little quick update: the Meteors are up 4-1 in Corvairs.
I tell you what,
Jeez.
who looks good? Who looks good right now? Fort Erie.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be the third win, will it
Yeah,
not?
Yeah.
What's the score?
No, second one.
4-1?
4-1.
Second?
They
Okay.
went, because the last 2 games against Cambridge, they shut them out. And then Game 2,
No, this will be the third one.
this is 3
Yeah.
nothing.
This is Game 3, yeah.
Which
I
is
thought
surprising
so.
the heck out of me, but like I told you, Fort Erie is the defending Golden Horseshoe champs, and they really impressed the heck out of me. when I
Cinderella's
saw them
shoe
play.
will probably fall off Thursday night too.
And then you've got St. Catharines up 3-0 after a 5-1 win.
That St. Catharines series. Did anybody notice what happened with 6 seconds
In
left
game
in the
2?
at Brantford the other night?
No.
There
Penalty
was
shot.
a penalty shot.
Oh, right.
Sabazzo had a chance to tie that game on a penalty shot.
Oh.
First of all, poor management by the referee. Calling a
another
penalty
thing.
with 6. A penalty shot was 6 seconds. We don't see a lot of penalty shots.
It was.
in this
Did
league.
you see the highlight?
It
Joe?
was.
The
it
guy
was,
covered
It
it
was
in the
penalty
net.
shot.
The guy
Yeah.
covered it in the
They
net.
covered it in the net.
In
but-
the crease, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so
6
that's
seconds
I
left.
have
legit.
no issue with the call personally.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, desperate times,
Yeah.
desperate
100%.
It's just one of those. It's another one of those things you don't see.
Right.
With that much time
6 seconds
in
left
the
in a
game.
1-goal hockey
Yeah.
game, and
The
I
goaltender
forget-
for
I
St.
forget his name
Catharines
now.
stoned him. Yeah.
He's-
Sabazzo came in. He made a great move. but he just couldn't get it up. And
That's a
over the
big
pass.
dude. That
Yeah.
oh my God, I forget his name.
So it's shaping up to be a Fort Erie St. Catharines
Yeah.
East
Repeat.
final.
Yeah.
Repeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they played each other
Good.
last year in the semifinal.
Yes.
Last year it was Fort Erie and Caledonia, who
Caledonia,
played
yeah.
a 7-game series.
Oh, okay.
Caledonia last year, because remember they only had 7
Yep.
teams because Niagara Falls went to
Yeah,
the
because
OJ.
Caledonia had the bye and,
And they had the bye through the
walked,
first
yeah.
round, and so I'm pretty sure Fort Erie had to beat St. Catharines in the semis,
Yeah.
and then beat Caledonia, which they did in 7 games before they went on to the Southern round robin.
So you got 3 series that are going to be 3-0, and then you got the Stratford series that's 2-2.
The Stratford one's the tightest
So-
one right
And
now.
that might
And-
be the surprise, right? I mean,
Yeah.
after the first 2 games, let's face facts. After the first 2 games, Stratford looked like they were on life support.
Yeah.
So, Holly, well said. You know, our boys from St. Mary's, the Chessels, tune in here, and they're asking, how does McSorley not get suspended?
I have no idea.
Great question, right?
Very much a missed call in game 2 when a guy comes out like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's something where a referee, and you know, and again, I don't want to go hard on the referees here.
Yeah, you do.
I don't. I really don't, because it doesn't. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it doesn't really serve a
Yeah.
whole lot of purpose. But here's what I have noticed, and if anybody's got a contrasting opinion, I
Sure.
accept that. The difference between junior refereeing and senior refereeing, because I watch a lot of both, obviously, and I don't even like calling it senior, but you get my idea. I'm going to use it.
Sure.
All hockey played by guys between
of
21 and
course.
35, senior, Super Hockey League, whatever we call it.
Sure.
The guys in senior are generally an older group, and I'm generalizing. They're generally an older group, late 30s, early 40s. They've got jobs, they've got careers, they've been wherever they're going to be. They're just here to make their $120 and go home to the wife and kids. Those guys referee by feel, like the guys did back in the day, where they had a feel of how the hockey game went. If the hockey game needed to be toned down a bit, they would call lighter stuff to bring everybody back. But as long as we had good flow and good motion and nobody was doing stupid stuff, they would let the ticky-tack stuff go.
Right.
The linesman would let an icing go that was 2 feet before the red line. Things of that nature. Junior, though, and I see this more and more every year, and you see at least as many games as I do in a season. And I'm not saying the referees are bad, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But it seems like they are regimented. Like, it seems to me like their evaluation is more important than the feel of the game. A lot of them are aspiring to higher levels. And I get that. If that's the only way you can get somewhere is by your evaluation, then
So you're
that's the way
talking
it has
about
to
the
be.
audits after the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
get game audits, and you can bet that they're doing evaluations. And most of the time, there's some kind of supervisor, especially as we get further on in the playoffs, because the league is going to want to name referees for the league championship series, and it's going to be based on evaluation. The Super Hockey League just did the same thing. They named the 6 referees who were going to be working in the championship final between Stratford and Strathroy based on, and they put it right on their own website, based on our evaluations, game evaluations, these 6 guys are going to get jobs during the final.
There is a supervisor for each series right now.
Right.
So,
As
and
there
that'll-
should be.
Yeah, and that'll be going forward.
But
So-
the difference between the senior and the
Yeah.
junior referee, and again, I'm generalizing, and it's not even necessarily a criticism. I just think that I prefer the senior way of refereeing because the game is more important than the evaluation.
Oh, come on, Gutierrez.
But for a lot of these guys, the evaluation is critical. For a lot of guys, the evaluation.
Wow.
Like if you've got I know kids like, the Robertson kid,
Yeah,
big
Owen.
kid,
Owen,
6 foot
yep.
size,
He was
6'6".
the other night.
He was a good-looking player. He's a former Culleton, if memory serves me, and he's a good-looking linesman. He's done a few Super Hockey League games, and with his size, he's got pro potential.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy that can get in between 2 guys and break up
Yeah.
a fight. 2 big guys, you know what I mean? So he's got potential to go far. And so he has to referee exactly as it's regimented. And I dealt with Baseball Ontario and Baseball Canada saying, this is how they say strike 1 out in front. That is how you call a strike. That is the only way you call a strike. And if you don't call a strike like that, you're not going to do nationals.
Yep.
That's the way it is. And it
Right.
doesn't matter if you have no clue what a strike zone is. If you look good while you're calling it, you can do nationals. And that is similarly, there's a lot of politics involved. So I want to cut the referee some slack. But I hope that at some point we can find a balance where the referees get back to, I think there should be a thing at the bottom. How's this feel for the game? I've never seen an evaluation. Maybe it says that. I don't know. Somebody, educate me. But at the end of the day, I would like to see referees more worried about feel for the game. I think that makes them better officials. And really, at this level, if we're training the kids to get to higher levels, shouldn't we be doing the same thing with the officials?
100% agree.
Well said, Holly.
That's
All
two
right.
rants in one episode.
I
Yep.
think we got her.
Hey, remember, advanced ticket sales tomorrow night, or Thursday night, 5 to 7 p.m. at the William Allman Arena. Before we head anywhere, our condolences to Greg Millen's family.
Yeah,
For
I'm
his
sorry to hear
goaltender
that
passed away
this
suddenly
morning.
Yesterday morning, so tough one there. All right, it's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation.
Thank you so much to all of our viewers and listeners for our exponential growth in our Instagram account and social media channels. We invite you to tune in. We try to keep it fun, try to keep it light, and we invite you to join us. Armchair Chirpers on Instagram or Facebook.
Exponential. Nice work.
Salut.
Good night.